friends and D&D family? Welcome to D&D Live 2020 Roll with Advantage. I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm Anna Prosser, one of your hosts, and this is Mica Burton. Mica, I'm so stoked.
Hi, oh my god, so am I. We love D&D, and this is just a weekend full of D&D, so I don't know what could be better, honestly.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with D&D Live, let us tell you a little bit about why we're here and what we're doing. D&D Live 2020 Roll with Advantage is a celebration of diverse storytellers, creators, and players coming together to conquer any challenge that their dungeon masters can throw at them.
And this year's D&D Live is teaming up with Red Nose Day charity organization and combining the strength of our communities to conquer the challenge of ending child poverty.
D&D fans and supporters of Red Nose Day hold the belief that the strongest parties are the most diverse, and that the best way to combat the issues facing the world is head-on and together.
And to that end, Wizards of the Coast will be matching any donations made this weekend to up to $125,000.
So if you want to make good on that promise from them, go to dndlive2020.com and donate to that worthy cause.
And off of that, we have so much programming to get to this weekend, so we should probably take a look at the schedule, right?
Yes, we have so many fun things.
Goodness.
You probably already saw some of that Baldur's Gate 3 gameplay, but we are here right now at that noon mark, a little bit after, because we are going to show you a reveal of the new D&D adventure. So stoked.
It is going to be so much fun. We have guests here to talk about the new program, the new game that's coming out, and I can't wait to get to it. How about you, Anna?
Oh, I'm stoked. Yeah, there's going to be lots of gameplay. There's going to be so many opportunities to learn about D&D, and this is one of the first ones. We have an owlbear here named Chris Perkins, who's going to tell us a few things about the game, as well as Jeremy Crawford. Chris being the principal narrative designer for D&D, and Jeremy being the principal rules designer. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Now, guys, we are so excited to reveal the new story. Mica, do you want to do the honors?
Yes. So this is the first time anybody's going to hear the title. So I hope everybody's ready out there. It is going to be called Icewind Dale, the Rime of the Frostmaiden. There it is. There's the cover. Wow, that's cool.
Oh, that's the first time I've seen that. It's so beautiful. What are we looking at on the cover there, guys?
So you're seeing one cover by Tyler Jacobson, which has some poor chap who's frozen dead in the ice, about to be taken into the grasp of the Frostmaiden. And then the other illo by Hydro74 gives a full frontal illustration of the Frostmaiden's owly visage.
That is the Frostmaiden herself, huh?
Yep, in all her glory.
Well, tell us a little bit. Let's get into what this adventure is going to be like. What are the main themes, Chris?
Well, this is a horror adventure set in Icewind Dale, a region far to the north in the Forgotten Realms, locked behind the spine of the world mountains. Themes of the story are isolation, paranoia, and secrecy.
Now, we have a lot of familiar things that we know we can expect in D&D, but we're always looking for the new things. What's going to be fresh and new in this adventure? What are the things that the players can look forward to?
Well, players can look forward to a campaign that embraces the setting and the environment. It's going to be chilly. It's going to be cold. It's a dangerous place, Icewind Dale. The people who go there they have to be very, very brave to survive the perils there. Now, the adventure is structured in such a way that a dungeon master can either run it all the way through or break it up into its smaller pieces, very similar to how the Essentials kit was structured. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But I think that in keeping with a horror setting, there are certain tropes that will come up again and again in this adventure that will have the players on the edge of their seats, and DMs will be able to scare them in a whole new way.
Thanks, Chris. That's just what we all want, more trauma as players. Leave it to Chris Perkins for the feature of the new book to be horrible experiences. But no, I'm super excited for that.
Yeah.
And I think that as we saw on the character or on the cover, one of those horrors is going to be Auriel, the demigod, the new goddess, or not new, but who is the main antagonist of this module. Can you go into a little more detail about her?
Yeah, so in D, there's gods who are greater gods who don't really manifest physically. You can't interact with them. They're far away, distant figures of great power. But then there are entities that we classify as lesser gods who are, they assume physical forms, and you can shake their hand, or you can, clash swords with them. They're very, very powerful entities, but they can be fought and they can be encountered in an adventure. And Auriel falls into the latter category. And in sort of concepting her for this adventure, I rather, sort of think of her as a very Hela-like figure. Anybody who's seen the movie Thor Ragnarok knows who Hela is. Super, super powerful, but fallible, flawed, and somebody that you can actually confront in the flesh.
And I think you mentioned that we may not always see her looking exactly as we see her in that art, right?
Yeah, Jeremy, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, one of the important parts of the story of deities in Dungeons and Dragons is that they can actually assume many forms. And sometimes in our adventures when we have featured gods, you might see just one stat block for an avatar of that deity. Well, in this book, we actually have multiple stat blocks for the Frostmaiden, depending upon the form that she takes, depending upon when you face her. And speaking of stat blocks, I do want to mention that this book has over 50 of them. I think the largest number of stat blocks that we have included in any of our 5th edition adventures.
That's so exciting. I love the idea of not knowing how we're going to encounter the Frostmaiden. And you probably won't tell us what those forms are yet, will you?
No, you can see one of them. You can see one of them today, and the rest will be a secret.
Well,
and
guys,
it seems like this new...
No, go ahead, Mica.
Oh, I was just going to say, it seems like this new module is not just giving us so many new stat blocks and so many new monsters, but new ways to play as well. Can you give us a little more detail about what players and DMs can expect when they crack open this book and what they're going to be sitting down to the table to play?
Yeah,
I think...
Oh. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I insist.
As Chris mentioned earlier, this adventure really delves into the quest structure that we explored in the Essentials Kit. And what we mean by that is it certainly has a large epic story, but that story is divided up into quests that you can embark upon all on their own. So let's say you want to have a standalone adventure in Icewind Dale. You could, as DM, pick one of the quests in this book and run just it and have a complete D&D story by running that little mini adventure. But you can also take all of those quests, play through them, and through the play experience, have this epic horror story emerge. A story where the villain isn't just the Frostmaiden and many other villainous NPCs who make appearances in the adventure, but the villain is also the environment itself. You see on the cover of the book that, yes, the Frostmaiden is prominent, but so is the weather. And because of that, in this adventure, we have forefronted in the play experience and in the rules that you're going to have to go up against things like blizzards, avalanches. You're going to have to figure out how to survive with your food if you get trapped out in this frozen waste. So we even have rules on how to fish up knucklehead trout, just to see, can we get something to eat while we are out in this frosty wasteland?
And I imagine that brings a whole bunch of new tools and strategies for a DM, right? New abilities for them to look at an environment.
Yes, absolutely. The DM can take these tools not only to dig into the experience of adventuring in Icewind Dale, but also take those and apply them in other adventures. So we've designed things like the avalanche rules, the blizzard rules, so that they can be used elsewhere. This adventure also includes a number of sports and games for the characters to play within the adventure itself. And many of those experiences could also be ported to other adventures. For example, there is a Goliath sport that the adventurers can participate in as they are making their trek through Icewind Dale.
Goliath sport?
I'm so excited.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, I know that I'm completely stoked for whichever DM is going to ruin my life in the Icewind Dale and freeze me to death and make me cry. But when can we expect to play this game?
So Rime of the Frostmaiden comes out later this summer, and it's 320 pages of adventure with a poster map in it. So there's enough content to make a whole nice long campaign out of it. But as Jeremy said, also it's designed to be sliced up. I think that when we were writing the adventure and we were coming up with the themes of the adventure, isolation being the most important, we didn't know 2 years ago that isolation would be such a theme in our real life. That we would all be we'd all be locked away in our private dungeons, waiting to emerge. I have a new sympathy for the people of Icewind Dale and the heroes who have to explore it, having been locked in this basement that I'm in for months on end.
Well, I can't wait to get into it. Thank you so much for making the time from your isolated caves, wherever you are, Chris and Jeremy, to talk to us about this product. The release date is September 15th, 2020. So be sure to look forward to that day. You can pick up Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frostmaiden then. And guys, don't go anywhere because we have lots more coming your way from D&D Live 2020. And be sure to visit dndlive2020.com to donate to Red Nose Day. We'll be right back.